Hi there folks, welcome to this Kelverion demonstration of the Integration Pack for HTTP applications. The Integration Pack allows you to monitor for incoming connections, send HTTP requests, it includes powerful data manipulation and named published data, and it opens a wide range of connection opportunities. We're going to take a look at three simple use cases. We're going to post to a web form, we shall interact with a Restful web service, and we're going to listen for incoming connections to allow external applications to interact with our runbooks. The Integration Pack gives you two new activities, monitor and send request. These activities are configured through a global configuration. Let's take a look at one of those now. We specify the URI that we're going to send to, user domain and password if required, and our configuration file. You can see we can specify HTTP or HTTPS in there if required. And let's take a quick look at one of those configuration files. We can specify named inputs and our outputs and how we're going to process that output. We can use either XPath or regular expressions for processing the outputs. You can see simple XPath expressions there and a number of named fields. If we move on to our first use case, we can see we're going to post some data to a form, and you can see the inputs that we've just seen in the configuration file. Let's take a look at the published data, and you can see the named published data as the output. Let's run that, see what happens. Let's just check if that's running. You can see that's executing now. And let's take a look at the published data. And we can see there the output that's come back from the form that was posted. It's a very simple form that I'm posting to just for demonstration purposes. If we move on to our next use case, we're going to interact with the Geonames Restful web service. We specify a longitude, a latitude and a username, and it tells us some information about the nearest location to that location. Let's look at the published data from that. We'll run that in the testing console just so we can see the output more easily. And we can see the country code, country name, etc. that's been published by the web service. Move on now to monitoring for incoming requests. I've got two runbooks already executing, one monitoring HTTP requests and the HTTPS. Let's look at the HTTPS one first of all. We'll dive into the config file. And we can see, if we look in more detail, I have a number of outputs that I'm going to process, and I'm using regular expressions to capture the information that's sent by the external user. A very simple HTTP form on my desktop. Let's open that up, and you'll have noticed in the runbook that we're posting the data that we process into a database. So let's open that up as well, see what fields we've already got in our table. So we can see there's 5 entries in there already, and those match the inputs that we're entering in. Let's enter some details into the form. I'm using a self-signed certificate to secure my connection, the HTTPS connection, and that means on the next screen when we submit the form we are going to see a warning from Internet Explorer. Obviously, if this wasn't a self-signed certificate, or if it was configured to be trusted, we wouldn't see that warning come up. Let's submit that form now, and there's our warning, and we can see the response. The incident has been received. If we move over to our database window, and let's do a refresh there, and we can see the detail number 6 there. That's what we've just entered. If we pop back to Orchestrator and take a look at the published data, And if we look at the monitor request, we can see those named published fields that we specified in the output of our configuration file and the values associated with them. This data is URL encoded. You have the option to change that in your configuration file, or indeed do some post-processing once we've received that to remove that encoding. If we move on to our second example now, this time I'm going to post some XML data, and I'm using a set of XPath queries to pull out those named fields. I have a simple PowerShell script that I'm going to use to interact with it. We can see the PowerShell script accepts a number of parameters, and we're using a HTTP request object to send the data to our listener. Let's just update some of those values. We'll change the incident number so we can quickly identify the entry that we've just created in the database. And we'll hit return on that, and we can see the incident has been handled again. This output was specified in our config file again. Full control over that. And if we look at the published data, we can see the impact there. If we move to the incident ID, we can see 444, that was the value we just used. Again, I'm simply posting the data into a database table. I have some other runbooks to pick the details up, but the opportunities are endless, really, what you might want to do with this data. Okay, we're about done. I think you can see that it opens up some quite interesting opportunities for external interactions. Thank you very much for watching this demonstration. If you're interested in this integration pack or any of our others, please head on to www.kelverion.com for more information.